I'm starting the far side, Chancellor Kevin Guskowitz, Coach Williams, and Director of Athletics Bubba Cunningham. We'll start with a comment from Chancellor Guskowitz, and then Coach Cunningham, and then have Coach Williams make a statement.
But he's available to
I want to welcome all of you to the Dean Dome on this.
Okay.
Everybody else is pretty valuable. Dejan said he's pretty much
like most of you here today. It's
bothering him
that this was an
a couple
April
weeks
Fool's
ago,
joke.
but he's back to basically 100%.
Coach Williams has led our team for the past 18 seasons, and there will never be another coach like him.
Okay, awesome. Anything
behalf of
else, themes,
Carolina
storylines that's
students,
developed since you've been
faculty, staff,
here?
and alumni,
or anything unique?
I want
Anybody
to offer
special
my
visitors?
heartfelt thank
Anything
you
like that?
to Roy, Wanda, and their entire family.
Right.
Their love and service to our university.
You saw the Coach Brooks.
Wish we could use our last
Yes, I love that.
mouth.
That is a cute,
Stop
it's a
the
wonderful
clock.
story. They're both very nice men. I don't know if you saw
Nobody
today,
has loved
our
this
Coach
university
Brooks
like
is
Roy
looking to
Williams.
He accepted a head
Hundreds
coach
of
job
student
at Florida
athletes,
University.
coaches,
He
and
accepted
players
that that became public.
across
Awesome. Okay.
under his
So
leadership.
he's going to be the head. He's leading.
Many are on the
he's
banners
working
floating above
through
us
all the
here
games
today.
obviously, and everything. And he's going to become the
Yet
head coach.
thousands of
He went
other
to school. That's where
students
he went to school as well.
never met
Oh,
Coach,
nice.
but benefited
I can't think of anything
from
else
his
really right
and
off
his
the top of my head.
generosity
Something comes up,
over the
I'll
past
email you or call
several
you or
years.
text you or
Okay,
something.
perfect.
If you
Coach,
have anything you need, don't hesitate to reach
like
out.
your
anytime.
players,
Will do. I appreciate it, Jeff. Thanks for connecting, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you very much.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
take care. Bye.
commitment to doing things the right way and representing Carolina with passion, honor, and integrity.
Conference in a really long time that he's actually been conducting
Family,
in
letting
person
us have Roy for all these years.
rather than doing so
Roy Williams
in
has been an incredible ambassador
rather than doing so
Carolina,
on just a
for the
Zoom
state,
press conference.
the
So
nation and the world, and he will
we're
continue.
gonna listen to see.
He is beloved by alumni and fans and is forever a Tar Heel. To our students, he is Carolina basketball, but not just Carolina basketball. He's as much a part of our old well or the low stone walls forever cherished by all of us. Thank you, Coach. And I'll now turn it over to Bubba Cunningham.
Thank you very much, Chancellor. Coach Williams, congratulations on an incredible career. 903 wins, Hall of Fame basketball coach. All of the accolades with the banners are self-evident. What I want to do is thank you for your leadership at the university. Thank you and thank Wanda. I know the Chancellor did. Wanda has been an incredible backbone for the Williams family, and to be able to sit here and honor you in your announcement of your retirement, while painful to many, is certainly rewarding to the Carolina community for all the things that you have done. And I can't think of a better place to be doing it than in the Dean E. Smith Center on Roy Williams Court. Those names are synonymous with incredible integrity in intercollegiate athletics and college basketball. But what is so fun about being in this facility are the people, the fans that are here, the late night. I still can't believe the pink sport coat that you wore this past year, trying to do the electric slide. Those kinds of things have made Carolina unique. That's what made Roy Williams unique. Your ability to run an incredible program and be so down to earth, students, the fans, and the players is truly remarkable. In addition to that, it's been your family. Whether it's Kim and Kurt, Katie and Scott, and the grandkids have all been a part of the success that you've enjoyed as a family. And to welcome them to the floor and to enjoy that with you sends a great message to the Carolina community that family is important and you can have a great family and an outstanding profession. From time to time, we get a chance to have the coaches over at our house prior to the season. And I'll never forget the time that you and Anson were talking about your exploits as college students. Whether your competitive nature and that of Anson's, whether it was badminton, or you talking to me about your wrestling experience when you had never wrestled before because it was important to win the intramural championship trophy or t-shirt associated with it, was priceless. Starting out as shagging soccer balls for Anson for $5 a game. but then realizing that basketball officiating would pay you more, so you switched over to basketball officiating. Those are things that just run deep in this community. And we're so fortunate that Dickie had the vision to bring you back. And Dick Bedour is here, and he brought you back to Carolina. And we owe him a debt of gratitude for that vision in bringing you back. So today is a day for us to celebrate you and your family and the incredible generosity that you have provided to this community. Most recently, there was a gift announcement that it took a lot of twisting of arms and cajoling to get you to allow us to announce that. But that inspires others to do so. And the generosity doesn't stop at that gift. But I can remember the excitement of our women's tennis team when they were told that they had an extra year of eligibility through yours and Wanda's generosity to give them a 5th year to compete because COVID shut it all down. But many people don't know that you give gifts annually to almost every program we have each year. You have supported them financially. You have attended all of their events. You have led this department through servant leadership and an example that is second to none. I congratulate you on a great career. I'm really disappointed that it won't be longer. And I want to now allow you to speak and talk about your career and all you have done for Carolina. Thank you very much, Coach.
This morning, when I talked to the team, it was really difficult. We did a Zoom call as long as I have enough people around me to know how to do those things. And that was really, really difficult. And when I came in and I saw the former players in the lounge, that was really difficult. And then when I realized that I was going to walk through that tunnel for the last time as a coach, that was really difficult. So we need to have some humor because I'm going to need it. And so the chancellor, I worry about you, Chancellor, because intellectually you and I are about the same spot, and that worries the hell out of me. Because now I was going to say is now a good time to say April's Fool and say gotcha and get the crap out of here. But the chancellor got it first. These are different times and unusual ways to say things. First time I spoke at my high school graduation's commencement exercises, I wrote it out. When I spoke at my mom's and my dad's funeral, I wrote it out. And in 2007, when I was lucky enough, because a lot of those guys back up there, when I was inducted in the Hall of Fame, I wrote it out. And the reason I did that is because I think I've got a better chance of holding it together. I really need Mickey Bell and Coach Smith here, because at the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies in 2007, Coach Smith slid over to me and said, I've got a $10 bet with Mickey that he thinks you're going to crack up and start crying. I said, Coach, you're in good hands. But if I read it as opposed to just talking off the cuff, I do have a better chance. But these are different times, unusual ways to say things. In today's times, I should say that I'm not retiring or resigning. I'm opting out. That's the most ridiculous phrase I've ever heard in my life. Why the hell don't you just say I quit? So I'm old school and I can't use those words, but I will tell you that I'm retiring and resigning as a men's basketball coach at North Carolina. It's been a thrill. It has been unbelievable. I've loved it. It's coaching, and that's all I've ever wanted to do since the summer after my 9th grade year in high school. No one has ever enjoyed coaching like I have for 48 years. As a high school coach for 5 years, came back here as Coach Smith's assistant for 10, head coach at Kansas for 15, and now North Carolina for 18. Everybody wants to know the reason, and the reason is very simple. Every time somebody asked me how long I was going to go, I would always say, as long as my health allows me to do it. But deep down inside, I knew that the only thing that would speed that up, if I did not feel that I was any longer the right man for the job. I'm not going to say the best man because I never thought I was the best at anything. But 15 years at Kansas, I thought I was the right man. And this time at North Carolina, I thought I was the right man. I no longer feel that I'm the right man for the job. The last 6 years have been really good. In 2016, we won the regular season and won the conference tournament championship. And we played for the national championship. Marcus Page made the most unbelievable shot that I've ever seen to send it into overtime. And if we had gotten it into overtime, I think we would have won, but you have to congratulate Villanova. Chris Jenkins comes down and making that big time shot. But we were one of the best, and it was a great game, but we were almost there. In 2017, we made it to the last game again. And we were fortunate enough to win. Kennedy Meeks, Isaiah Hicks, Justin and Theo and Joel and Nick, Nate and all those guys. That time in the locker room reminded me, because I was an assistant in 82. I was in there in 05 and 09 and now in 17. And every year that I was in there after winning a national championship, the first time as Coach Smith's assistant, somebody would say, "Gosh, I wish I were on Franklin Street." And I would laugh. And every time I said, including 82, when I had black hair, that Franklin Street may be pretty good, but nothing's better in this locker room. And that's the way I felt in 17. We were number 1 seed that year. And in 18, it was really a great deal of fun with Theo and Joel. We were number 2 seed. And in 19, we were number 1 seed again. Kenny Williams is back over there. I told him somewhere down the line, we're related. I have a picture on my desk when we lost, when we ran into the really hot Auburn team, that I took Kenny out and I knew the game was over. And I kissed him on the top of the head. And it's one of my favorite pictures. But we were pretty good. And Kenny and Luke, Cam and Kobe, Garrison. That was so much fun. But the last 2 years have been really hard. 2020, we had so many injuries. Yes, it was this year before we get into the tournament, at the ACC tournament, I saw that box score from when we played Virginia Tech at Virginia Tech during that season. We only played 7 guys. We didn't have Brandon Robinson, didn't have Cole Anthony, and we lost in double overtime. The injuries really did hurt, but I felt that I made mistakes. We were up 3 against Clemson, and I didn't remind the guys to foul. They make a 3 and send it to overtime, and we lost. Up 3 against Duke, and we did foul. And young man from Duke did one of the greatest things I've ever seen, bouncing that ball off the front of the rim and making that basket. But that time I fouled and it didn't work out either. And we lost in overtime. Wanda's maiden name is Jones. And I told the Jones youngster, Trey and Tyus both were great players at Duke, but I'd never seen anything like that. We had 6 games last year that were decided on last second shots. We lost all 6 of those. My first year as Coach Smith's assistant, we had 5 games where the other team had the last shot that would have won the game, and they missed all 5. That was the difference between me and Coach Smith. I talked to him about that several years later. Needless to say, I didn't talk to him after last season, even though I talked to him every night. But no one could emphasize rebounding any more than Roy Williams. And we didn't get a box out, and we lost the Notre Dame game on the second shot, didn't get a box out twice, and lost the Duke game. So when those 6 games were decided on last second shots, and we lost all of those. It sort of ate at me all summer. And we beat Syracuse on the road late in the ACC, and the next week lost to them in the ACC tournament. And they just had more fire and more passion, and I didn't get my kids to that level. It's funny and humorous and comical, but so many times over my career, I've had fans say, Coach, if you could just beat Duke twice, we don't care about anything else. I don't know if they're going to say that right now because we did beat Duke twice, but we still didn't get done what I wanted to do. I just never got the team this year where I wanted them to go. I just didn't get it done. I didn't get them to buy in and focus on the things that I think are really big in the game of basketball. We got better all season long. I think we got better, but not to the level some of our teams have been. I didn't push the right buttons. We did some good things. We did some things that sometimes, as I said, the locker room at Duke, the Duke game here, Louisville here, Florida State here, Notre Dame in the tournament. I just didn't get it done consistently enough. So yes, I'm getting old, body's breaking down mentally and physically. But I do love teasing my players and said, I just wonder what you're going to look like when you're 70. Yes, I want to see my children and grandchildren more. I want to give Wanda more time. I still don't know about getting in an RV and driving across the United States of America, though. I'm all in for going to baseball parks with the grandkids. But the biggest reason we're having this meeting is I just don't feel that I'm the right man any longer. I love coaching, working with kids on the court, the locker room, the trips, the jump around music, the trying to build a team. I will always love that. And I'm scared to death of the next phase. But I no longer feel that I'm the right man. What I'd like to do is bore you to death for a couple more seconds and thank some people. Buddy Baldwin was my high school coach. He's the person that made me want to be a coach. My experience with him was really the most important thing as a youngster. I never would have gone to college if it hadn't been for Coach Baldwin. And I love the fact that he was a UNC graduate and he wanted me to come here. The players from Kansas, players from North Carolina, players from Owen High School, I've heard from all of them today. One of the first ones I got was a young man who's a minister who was a football player at Owen High School, my first year as a high school coach. Telling my team that, talking to them this morning is the most difficult thing I've done. I've been so lucky because of those guys. I've been so lucky. 15 years at Kansas, those kids gave me a chance. They said, let's do what he says and see if it'll work out. They didn't question me. We grew up together and I appreciated how hard they worked and the passion with which they played. Jerry Green told me that time, he said, you're getting those kids to pull the nails out of the floor for you. And I always remembered that. And I felt like that's part of the problem that I failed in the last 2 years. Now, 18 years at UNC, and you're darn right, I'm as happy as I can be about those individual banners up there of the players that I coached, including Tyler Hansbrough on the front row. That's pretty impressive. All those guys that helped us put those 3 banners behind us. I'm so proud that I can say in the 18 years we've been back, we're the only school to win 3. You know, I never had a player that wanted to miss a shot. I never had a player that wanted to make a bad play. I always pushed them to concentrate, hustle, and get better every day. And my players these last 2 years, they're not any different. They didn't want to miss a shot. They didn't want to miss a box out. I didn't get the message to them well enough. Some of you people have been around here a long time and you see that play hard, play smart, play together. Some of the older guys that played here when I was assistant, that's the last thing I yelled in the locker room when they leave the locker room every night. We'd get together and clap our hands together and they would leave and yell, play hard, play smart. Bill Guthridge was always teasing me, said, how do you want them to play? And I said it every game for the last 8 years I was assistant here. Coach Smith, being Coach Smith, would say, I think it should be play hard, play smartly. I told him I was going to stick with the play hard. My second and third year at Kansas, second or third year, Coach Smith called me and said, we've added one thing to your play hard, play smart, and we've added play together. And that was one of the most proud moments I've ever had. Again, I've been so lucky because of those players. And nothing is better than seeing the look on your guys' faces when they accomplish something that was really hard. I love those locker room celebrations. And yes, a lot of people realized that I couldn't dance worth a darn, but I didn't care. I just wanted to jump around and act like a fool. So to the players that are here, the ones that have already sent messages, that have already called me, and the ones that haven't, I loved every one of you, and thank you. Bob Frederick, Brad's father, took a chance and hired me at Kansas. And Chancellor Gene Budig allowed him to do it. Bob Frederick was the finest gentleman I've ever known in my life. And I was really happy that he was able to see 2 of our national championships at North Carolina before he passed. Dickie Bedour is one of the most impressive people I've ever known. When I said no in 2000, he caught a lot of junk. He was criticized a great deal and people blamed him. And 3 years later, he called again and asked if I would come back again. And all of us know that a lot of people wouldn't have done that. Chancellor Meeser allowed him to do that. And I appreciate Dickie and Chancellor Meeser more than they will ever know. And Bubba now and Chancellor Guskowitz are 2 people that have been hard to talk to them over the last 7 or 8, 9 days. But I love Chancellor Guskowitz started here as a freaking trainer. And he's in the same ballpark as I am about how much he loves this university. And I appreciate that about him. I appreciate the fact that he asked me on Sunday if I'd take 24 more hours to think about it. And Bubba, we've grown together and trust him a great deal. I'm putting a lot of load on he and the Chancellor's shoulders because I'm giving my opinion very strongly about what I want to happen with the program. But Bubba and the Chancellor, I thank you guys. And thanks to my coaches, my first staff at KU, wow. Jerry Green, Steve Robinson, Kevin Stallings, Mark Turgeon. That was my staff. All 4 of those guys were Coach of the Year in their respective leagues, and some of it multiple times. And then I had Matt Daugherty and then Joe Holliday. And Joe Holliday stayed with me for 20 years. And that was still the North Carolina lineage because Joe was Steve Hale's high school coach and he worked at our basketball camp here. And I just loved who Joe Holliday was. Thanks, partner. Ben Miller, Neil Daugherty, Jared Hass, C.B. McGrath, Hubert Davis, Brad Frederick, Sean May, Kendall Marshall, Eric Coops. No one has had that quality and level of help and care and love that you guys have given me. After I hired Jared and CB, I made a decision I would never hire anybody as an assistant coach unless they'd played for me. That's how strong Jared and CB were. When I think of Eric Coots, I think of somebody who can do everything. And when I think of Eric Coots and Hubert Davis together, I think they're the only two people that can love this university as much as I do. And Steve Robinson, 26 years as a security blanket and as a brother. And words cannot say what I feel about Steve. The administrative assistants, because that's what they tell me to call them as opposed to secretaries. Some of them tell me much more strongly than others. At Kansas, Suzanne, Debbie, and Joni. And here at North Carolina, Jen Holbrook and the current staff, Nadia, Cynthia, Kay, and Maggie. Cynthia didn't come in today, but I think they got her the information, but they took care of Roy Williams, but they also took care of Carolina basketball. I don't know what to call these other people, except say thank you. Steve Kirshner, Clint Gwaltney, Doug Halverson, Jonas Serration. Those four guys are absolutely incredible and work so hard to take care of many things, especially me. There's no way we would have had the success that we've had without those guys. I'd like to thank the other coaches here at North Carolina. I love coaches. You realize at North Carolina, we have 9 coaches, have had 9 coaches who have won national championships. I love that. I do. I love coaches. Some people portray coaches in a manner I never see. We all got into coaching because we loved our game, wanted to teach and wanted to help young men develop or young women develop, not for the money. We did it because someone helped us and we wanted to help others. I came back to North Carolina for $2,700 a year, and I sold calendars and drove copies of Dick Crump's football show and Coach Smith's basketball show. And a lot of the coaches around the country did it the same way. So many, I can't say them all, but I truly admire and respect and lucky to call them friends. Tubby Smith, Lon Kruger, Tom Izzo, Mark Few, yes, Bob Huggins. I always say that he's a little unusual, but I love him to death. Jared Hass, Mark Turgeon. In our own league, Mike Krzyzewski and Jimmy Boeheim already in the Hall of Fame, and they made me work as hard as I could every day. And Leonard Hamilton, who needs to be in our Hall of Fame. Younger guys like Josh Pastner, Chris Mack, and Tony Bennett. Oh my gosh, what a coach Tony Bennett is. I've been lucky because those guys push me. I've also been lucky because old guys like Nolan Richardson and Bob Knight helped me immensely when I was a young coach. And some we've lost, like Coach John Chaney, who would always hug me, and Coach John Thompson, who was one of my mentors. And yes, Dean Smith, Bill Guthridge, and Eddie Folkler, who taught me everything I know. Coach Smith, I've always said, was the best there ever was on the court and was even better off it. I could never come close to matching what Coach Smith did, but every day I tried to make him proud. Bill Guthridge was my freshman coach. I wasn't very good, but I loved to practice, loved to play. And Eddie Folkler took me under his arm when I was a part-time assistant and taught me everything that I could possibly need about recruiting. Those guys were really something, and every day, I hope all three of them felt like I was doing what they wanted me to do. I'd like to thank the former players, a different group, Bob McAdoo, Jeff Lebo, Kenny Smith, Don Johnston, and Greg Campbell, because they wanted me to coach their sons. That really says to me what they thought. The good news I have for you is that, believe it or not, I'm just about done. I never had any day that I didn't give my absolute best, not one single day. I cared deeply for my school. I cared deeply for every player. And I'm really proud of what we accomplished. If I can get through this period here, I'm going to try to put aside the fact that I no longer feel like I'm the right person and try to concentrate on the fact that I'm really proud of what we accomplished. The last long period of time, I've been focused on the fact that I just didn't think I was good enough anymore. But if I can get through today, I'm going to focus on that we had some fun. My family allowed me to coach and believed it was the best thing for me to do. They encouraged, supported me, cheered, and cried. They cared about what I was doing passionately. Wanda, Scott, Kimberly, Katie, Kurt, Aiden, Court, Kason, and little Miss Kinsey. I love you. Wanda is the best partner I could have ever had for 48 years. Most of the time I kid around and say that I've allowed that woman to live with me for 48 years. It'll be 48 years this July 28th. She was the best partner I could ever have had. I don't know what the future holds. In some ways, I'm very sad, and as I said, I'm scared. But I'm also really happy and proud. We did okay. I was coaching great youngsters, winning a few games, and loving it with my heart and my soul. We did okay. And to borrow from Lou Gehrig, I'm a big-time Yankees fan, and it's nice to see Art Chansky back there with how the Red Sox have been struggling. Lou Gehrig said, and I say again, I feel like I'm the luckiest man on this earth. Thank you.
Coach, thank you very much. Go ahead, Ryan, CL, Brendan to that mic, Luke, Bob, Greg to that mic over there. CL, you'll start it up. Wes, can you raise Coach's mic again, please?
I know some of you guys in the back were getting sleepy, but I appreciate you standing up like that. Thank you. Okay, guys, I'll try and, was I close to 18 minutes?
I don't know, you may have to run a 22 or something.
There was a day.
We'll get started. CL first. One thing, I'm not big on telling you what you cannot ask. If you have a question though for Bubba about who the next coach is or what the next coaching process, that's what we're going to do at 7 o'clock tonight on the Zoom. So just a matter of saving time, just please refrain and just hold that question until the Zoom is 7. I appreciate that. CL.
Hi, Roy. You've said plenty of times that when Coach Smith retired at 66, he regretted taking that step. He thought he still had coaching left in him. Did you revisit that discussion that you guys had, and what insight, if any, did you take from it in making this decision now?
Yes, I thought about that, and I told Coach, as I said, that I was going to coach as long as I felt like I was healthy enough to do it. But also, I was really bothered by the mistakes I made last year, and the fact that I felt like I could have done a better job coaching this team and this year. And as I said, my guys never wanted to make a mistake, so I'm not blaming them. It was me. I didn't get them to do what I wanted them to do. But I did think about that conversation with Coach, and I made it past 66 because he made me promise not to stop at 66. And I'm 70. I'm not going up to the senior tees yet, so I think I'm okay. But I am very comfortable with the decision. I wish I had had better thought process to make me do it, but I'm very comfortable with the decision.
Over here on the right, Coach Greg Barnes.
Hey, Roy, you mentioned being school, so I want to start there. Loyalty,
Greg, I'm sorry, you cut out, you said I mentioned,
you mentioned being old school,
oh, yeah, okay.
so I wanted to start there. Loyalty has been a defining characteristic of your coaching career.
Mhm.
There are changes coming to college basketball within the form of the one-time transfer rule and name, image, and likeness that seem to run counter to the concept of loyalty. Did that conflict of ideas play any role in your decision?
You know, Greg, last summer, I ached quite a bit because of the mistakes that I thought I made. And this year, I felt like again that I could have done better. And there's no question that I'm old school. And, you know, there's been a couple of things happen, the transfer portal and things like that. But they didn't make the decision. They just confirmed what I mean, I love our players. Walker Kessler, I love Walker Kessler. Sterling, Walker Miller, Garrison. I mean, I can go down. KJ's here. It was strictly what I said. Nothing else. They may have confirmed my thought, but it wasn't name, image, and likeness. I mean, I tell my players all the time, they've got it made. Sean May, when he was playing here, it was a lot tougher those days, but I can't stand in the front of progress, whether I believe it's progress or not. It doesn't make any difference, but those things and some things that happened. I mean, I felt like it was, we played miserably against Wisconsin, but I coached that game. So I coached miserably. Those things just confirmed it, but it wasn't, I'm not running out just cause I don't want to talk about name, image, or likeness. I don't even understand what the heck it still means, but it sort of confirmed it, but it was just the fact that I didn't feel like I was any longer the right person.
Before I go to Ryan, those of you sitting, if you have a question, kind of give me a high sign so I can pick 3 more on this side and that side when we get going. Ryan Wilcox, DTH, go ahead.
Coach, you mentioned a number of former coaching colleagues. I was curious what the conversations with those people have been like in the last few days and specifically the last few hours.
I haven't spoken with those guys. Mark Turgeon, I did speak to Turge. I mean, again, you think about Mark Turgeon, Steve Robinson, Jerry Green, and Kevin Stallings. I wouldn't be here if it hadn't been for those guys. So Turge called and I happened to have the phone with me and I took his call, but you know, Mike Krzyzewski sent me a text. Kirsch says he has some comments from all the guys and or a lot of guys. And it's just that I love coaches. I mean, I can't imagine, I know that you guys think I'm crazy. I can't think of a better group of guys than those guys I named and hundreds that I didn't name. I mean, Coach Tinkle from Oregon State, they have a great run and the NCAA tournament. And after we won 900, I got a handwritten note from him. I mean, they really care about kids. I really believe that. Coaches our age, and I'm a lot older than some of them, not older than Jimmy or Mike, but I think coaches they're my heroes. My mother was my hero, but Buddy Baldwin was really, really something for me.
Over here, Luke, on the right.
I had a couple of questions sort of about the process, listening to you talk about it. Is this something that you had considered last summer? Because it sounds like, and let me just tack on a couple of quick ones.
Yeah.
It's because it's all kind of connected. Last summer, and then was there a precipitating event in the last month or two that brought you to this point? And when you kissed the floor, did you know that we were coming to this day?
Okay. 3 or 4 years ago, I was worried about some things I was worried if I was losing my mind, worried I was getting old. I remember Doug Moe was a great Tar Heel, and Coach Smith loved Doug Moe to death. And I said, Doug, I'm forgetting people's names. And Coach Smith told me one time I was better than anybody ever known. And I said, have you looked in the mirror? Because he was the best. And Doug calls me Wah. He said, Wah, I got 6 grandchildren. I said, hey, you come on over here. He said, that's getting old is all that was. But I had talks with Bubba and Kirsch and Clint to make sure that, I wasn't losing it or anything. And I felt like that they helped me get to grips with that. But it was really, Wanda wanted me to quit in 09. And she really wanted me to quit in 17, but I survived 12 more years. So I felt like I did all right. Last summer was really hard because, yes, I can say injuries and all this kind of stuff, but I gave you an example of a couple of decisions. We didn't foul, we lost. We did foul, we lost. And even this year, the first game in, not the first game, the championship game in Asheville against Texas, scores tied and there's 20 seconds to play or something like that. And I sent the team out there, and Steve Robinson, I grabbed him and said, if we weren't so young, I would double team the ball right now, but I'm afraid we'll give him a wide open layup. And I never had that kind of ideas. And so, Matt Coleman dribbled the clock out and shot it in, and they beat us. And those kind of things really bother me. I hold them on for a long, long time. Nobody remembers, well, a couple of people in here may remember when Dudley Bradley stole the ball from Clyde to Glad Austin, went down and dunked it. They came down and Kenny Matthews had a pretty doggone good look from 3 that could have won the game. They forget that when we beat Michigan State in Carmichael, Magic was the great player, but Jay Vince was good, and he missed a wide open 12-footer that could have won the game. Dale Solomon at Virginia Tech missed a free throw with 0-0 on the clock. And like I say, that was Coach Smith was a better coach. And but those things really bothered me last year. And then this year, like I said, I didn't feel like I was touching the right buttons for my players. And I see Andrew and KJ and Walker and Sterling, and I'm not blaming those guys. I just didn't feel like I did the job that I wanted to do. And so the last part of the question, I think, Luke, is that all that stuff came to a head after the Wisconsin game. And like I said to Greg, just some other things sort of confirmed that it was the right thing. But like I said, Wicked Wanda wanted me to stop in 09, so I got 12 more years. So I felt like I did all right.
So just when you kissed the floor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Did you know at that point, or
No.
did you suspect at that point?
No, it's strange because I didn't plan that. You remember how good our home court was for us this year, except for the Marquette game. And I was thinking about, I really appreciate you. After I left Kansas, I was wishing I'd kissed the floor at KU, Allen Fieldhouse, because the home court advantage was unbelievable. But I was walking off the court and I started to yell to the guys, but I did a poor job of coaching the guys that day, because remember, I was trying to say thank you to the fans, and we did a terrible job of our chorus line, thanking and bowing. It was symbolic of the coaching job that I did during the course of the season. I couldn't get them to bow together, but I was just walking off, and it was right here at the center circle, and I just wanted to say thank you. And I'm the guy that when I was at Kansas, I used to go jogging on game day and go pat the tombstone of Dr. Naismith and Doc Allen. And last year, and years past, Clint Walton, I've gone up to Coach Smith's gravesite since I've been here. So I'm a little weird.
Over on the left, Brendan.
Roy, congratulations first off on the career and the retirement. You mentioned how difficult the conversation was this morning with the guys. I'm just wondering, since this wasn't something that had been, predetermined weeks ago, How did this decision impact the conversations you've had with him in the last couple of days? And also this morning, can you just give us a little more insight into what that experience was like for you?
Well, last week after we lost to Wisconsin, I started having meetings on Saturday night with 3 guys, I think then, and Sunday night and Monday and Tuesday. And I think I got through all the players' individual conferences. And then our players have basically been here since July the 6th with Leaky. What you guys have 3 days at Christmas and 2 or 3 days at another time. And so the classes are virtual. We wanted them to go home and then bring them back like we've talked as a staff, like April 12th or something like that, to start individual workouts again. I didn't want them to come back for this. I'm having a hard enough time when I look over there and see those guys. But I didn't want somebody else to tell them. And so the current team, we did the Zoom, and I asked all the different coaches to call different people. And I see Marvin Williams standing back over there. Never been around a more appreciative young man than Marvin Williams. Didn't even start a game for us. Told me the only thing he wanted to do was win. And fortunately, we won a national championship. And Sean May, who told me that he was coming back, he thought the rest of the guys might be interested in leaving. And I remember we won the national championship because Sean May was the best player in college basketball. And we won it on Monday, came back Tuesday, and on Wednesday he called and said, you know, Coach, do you think my stock can get any higher? And I told him he wasn't a steer or a horse. It's not stock. But I agree with you that I think you're in the best position. And he had my blessings. And it's just hard to look over there. So the telling the current team was really hard. But seeing and talking to Jackie Emanuel when he came in to see me today is something that I'll love for the rest of my life and feel very, very fortunate. And just think about how lucky I have been. And it's because of kids like that. Wes Miller came closer to playing his potential than any player I've ever had in my life. But I'll remember the fun times too. CB, you look better with the mask on, son. CB was one that came and told me it could be a walk-on at Kansas. And he drove from Topeka to Lawrence every night the entire summer to pick up games. It's about a 35-minute drive. And Marvin, you can get on CB because he came over every night and he never got picked for a single game the whole summer. But it impressed me that he kept coming back. So Brandon, it's a little bit of that. It's just, I feel like I've been so fortunate and so lucky. That was a long-winded answer that I don't even know if I answered your freaking question.
All right, if you 6 will sit down, and Art, Lauren, and Barry to that side. I'm sorry, Bob, go ahead. And then Andrew after Bob. Andrew, Brett, and you're next. Keep them quick. Coach, you checked in at 27 minutes according to ESPN stats, so we'll keep them moving.
I've never really concerned about ESPN stats in my entire life anyway.
I teed that one up for you. Bob.
Roy, with the unconventional nature of this season, was there an inclination to try to give it one more go around, especially as a coach who's a creature of habit and want to be able to do things your way?
Yes, Bob, but I wasn't going to quit last year after 14 and 19. And I was not happy with what that was. And so that made me come back this year. And I'll say again, I tried to give my team every single day, everything I had, but I didn't do a good job with this team. So I wasn't going to wait for strike 3 is bottom line, but this was a hard year. Our players, from the room to the gym, the room to the gym, the room to the gym, they did not have the experience of going to the football games on Saturday and seeing the pageantry of college football. They didn't have the walking on campus and seeing the classes being taught out on the grass. And so it was hard on our guys, but no, heck, I'd like to coach for 30 more years, but I just don't think I'm the right guy.
Art.
Roy, you've been such a great ambassador for the game all these years. I know you have a lot of things to think about, but do you see possibility of staying involved with the game in some way?
You know, Art, I don't know what's in the future. I know that I won't coach again. How can I leave Leaky Black and go coach somebody else? That's not going to happen. If I could be useful in some way to the University of North Carolina, I would try to do that, see what it sounds like, but still not convinced about driving an RV across the United States, but I need to give Wicked Wanda and my family some time. But I'd love to be an ambassador for the game and an ambassador for coaches, because I just think the coaches are my heroes.
Over on the right, Andrew Jones.
Is that close, Art?
Sorry, Coach.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Andrew.
When you were going through the last couple of weeks and weighing where your mind was, maybe on your walks or something like that, was there a moment when you knew this is it and you got to tell Wanda, and kind of had to come to terms with it maybe before you did tell her? Is there that one seminal moment where you just thought, this is it?
I was so discouraged after the Wisconsin game, the way I'd gotten our guys ready to play. And I think I sort of knew after that game. And so the last 13 nights, I basically stayed awake all night to make sure there wasn't much sleeping or anything. But I don't know that there was a single event. Like I said, you know, some things sort of confirmed that it was the right decision. I called Bubba, I think, was it Tuesday of last week? So we lose on Friday night, and I called Bubba on Tuesday of that week. And Chancellor was nice enough to meet with me on Sunday and asked me if I would think about it for another 24 hours. So I did what he asked. I stayed late awake all night. And the last 2 days, I was a lucky guy. I went to Augusta National, played par 3 Tuesday, and then played 18 Tuesday afternoon, played 18 yesterday morning, and it was beautiful, and I loved it, and shot 88, 87. I did par 13, 14, 15, 17, and 18 to finish, so I probably won't ever go back. But between every shot, I wasn't really thinking about hitting the golf ball. I was thinking about how I was going to tell my players and getting through this press conference. So I knew then that, you know, if you can't even think about golf when you're at Augusta National, the decision that I felt about not being the right person any longer, that was pretty much confirmed everything.
On the left, Lauren.
Coach, congrats on a great career.
Thank you.
You mentioned so many of those late game decisions and almost moments. So how will you reconcile with those memories and find joy in them if possible?
You know, Lauren, I won't find joy in those because those were bad moments. I'll try to forget those as quickly as I can. But like I say, I felt like if I could get past this of not feeling like I was the right person any longer, I'm going to enjoy thinking about the great wins and the great seasons. And as I said to Coach Robinson this morning, same thing I said to you. I said, we did okay. And he said, we did a lot better than that. And I think it was Marvin said the same thing in with players in the lounge. I'm going to look and be proud of those. The old Gamecock, the old ball coach is the one that sort of got me into calling myself Old Roy. And Old Roy is going to feel pretty good about what we accomplished. And Old Roy is going to be proud. But the problem is, Old Roy's selfish. He wanted more. And I didn't think I could cheat my school and my kids.
We got about 3 or 4 more questions. Brett?
Roy, as much as you love this place and this program, how difficult in 2000 was it to tell Mr. Bedour that you weren't going to come? And then a few years later, when he asked you again, what changed to make you decide to come that time?
It was hard. It was hard to tell Coach Smith and Dickie that, but I'd promised Nick Collison that I would be there his entire career. And I never could come to grips with the fact that I would leave without doing what I told that kid. And Coach Robinson and I went to Oklahoma City a few years ago and saw Nick Collison's one of his last games. They retired his jersey for the Seattle Supersonics, Oklahoma City Thunder. He averaged like 5 points a game for his career. But I'd promised that kid that I was going to be there for his entire career. Because some people had told him that if he came to Kansas, that I would be gone, that I was going to go to North Carolina. So that's what it was. It wasn't that Dickie made any mistakes or anything. I know it's corny as all get out, but that's what it was. And so during that time period, those 3 years between 2000 and 2003, I never told any other kid that. Nick Collison was a senior. I'd told everybody that down several NBA jobs, and I'd turned down North Carolina, and that was the only school that I would ever leave Kansas for. And so that was the freedom. And then we had changed athletic directors at Kansas, and Dr. Bob Frederick, who was so loyal to me. And so the job had changed a little bit. And it was a different decision. Wanda and the kids thought I would come back the first time, and I didn't. And they thought I would stay the second time, and I came back. But it was Dick Bedour, and Coach Smith said, he said, we wanted you the first time, but we need you now. And I think I would have been able to say no to Coach Smith if it hadn't been that Nick Collison had already graduated. So that's it.
All right, time for 2 more. Coach appropriately, the 2 oldest guys probably in the room, Kip and Barry.
Kipper.
Roy, indulge me a personal note here. I want to thank you for befriending me professionally and personally over these decades.
Thanks,
It means
Kip.
a lot.
Thank you, Kip.
My family sends its regards. I speak for a lot of media, I'm sure, when I say, Dadgummit, Roy, we're going to miss you. And is there a favorite memory you'll take with you about just what you've done for the last 5 decades?
Kip, I said this when at Kansas, when there was an article in one of the Athletic, is that what it was, Kirsch?
Yes, sir.
And it talked about how I was sick as a dog when I first got to Kansas, but I met with the local media and I told them that I would try to help them do their job as long as they didn't try to bother me doing mine. And that's something I've always felt. And I felt that way with you many years ago, Barry many years ago. You guys are good. We don't have to agree to respect each other. And I know I'm not an original person saying that, but I did, in my later years, our press conferences got so ridiculous. I mean, we were off chart. They sort of got out of hand, but it was fun and we laughed a lot. But I loved coaching my high school team. I loved coaching at Kansas. I remember we were picked 8th in the Big 8, and we won the preseason NIT. That was my second year, and they introduced me as Ron Williams instead of Roy. And I told my team that was all right. It didn't bother me because we were going to shock everybody. And we'd shocked LSU with Shaq and Chris Jackson and Stanley Roberts. I told Dick Vitale, he came by shoot around. And he said, boy, they've given you a tough road, LSU at LSU. And I called my team over and told them, I said, what did I tell you guys? Because I told them we were going to win. You know, and you do stupid stuff like that when you're younger. And but Nick Collison, Drew Gooden, and Kirk Heinrich saved me because college basketball got very difficult with the recruiting stuff there for a while. And there were 3 great kids, great families that just cared about college educations. And so they saved me. I went home and told Wanda one time, maybe I will have to go to the NBA, but those 3 kids saved me. But big moments, you know, I've been so fortunate, but I will tell you, it was a thrill for me when Coach Smith and Michael Jordan came in our locker room in St. Louis. And I told them that North Carolina basketball had been Phil Ford and Dean Smith and Michael Jordan. But for the rest of history, North Carolina basketball was also going to be Sean May and Raymond Felton and Marvin Williams, and to have Michael and Coach Smith in the locker room. And then to go over on the side of the court and have Wanda and Scott and Kimmy to be able to hug them, and everybody had a little tear in their eyes. So, and you know, we've been fortunate to win it again in 09 and win it again in 17. And Phil Knight left me a message today, and I'll never forget, we beat Oregon, his school, in the semifinals. And I came out of the press conference and he was standing there waiting for me. He said, you know, you beat my school, but I'm so, so happy for you. And you think about those kind of things. I think about the relationships, and Shamon Williams never played for me, but he's here today. And Tyler Zeller, I mean, I'm afraid I'm going to miss somebody's name, but so the relationships, you know, David Noel, Byron Sanders, Nick Bradford, Rex Walters, all those guys today. It's about the kids. Buddy Baldwin took an interest in me, and I've been trying to repay him for 48 years.
Coach, last one, Barry.
Been talking a lot about your feelings, and one feeling that you mentioned and kind of passed over that we don't like to talk about in public very much. You said, I'm scared to death of the next phase. What are you scared of?
The only thing I've ever wanted to do was coach. I'm 70 years old, and I'm arranging our golf trip to Arizona at the end of April. I've been putting teams together my whole life. When I was 17 years old, I'm calling my buddies up on Saturday morning and telling them what time the pickup games and where it's going to be. When I'm a high school coach, I'm calling and waking guys up and telling them our tea time is at 8 o'clock. So it's all I've ever done. And I don't know how good I was at coaching, but I'm scared to death of trying to do something that is not coaching. But when I hug Aiden and Court and Kaysen and little Miss Kinsey, the world seems at peace. And so I am scared. You know, Wanda may decide she wants a job after a couple of weeks. And God knows, the other night she came back in, I said, there's something wrong with the dishwasher. And it was on rinse. Hell, I didn't know that. I just knew it wasn't washing the dishes. So if she gets a job and I have to do all that crap, I know I'm in trouble. So this is like all of my press conferences over the last couple of years, guys. They've deteriorated a great deal. I'm talking about running the damn dishwasher. So let me close this thing by saying again, I've been so, so lucky. I appreciate you guys and girls. I'm from the South, so if you say guys, that means male and female all. I'm appreciative of Chancellor Budig and Bob Frederick, Dickie Bedour and Chancellor Meeser, Bubba and Chancellor Guskowicz. And for the rest of my life, I'll always say that I was a coach, and that's the proudest moment of my life. Thank you.
All right. Everybody, thank you very much. Chancellor, Bubba, thank you. Especially Coach Williams, thank you for everything. If you don't have the Zoom at 7, let me know. I'll get that to you. We appreciate y'all being here.